Hello and welcome to Final Fights, brought to you by Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a woman who picked this first episode, and I think it's a great pick. It's Megan Hoffmeyer.
I'm so excited, I might throw some chest kicks.
Oh, goodness. This is our first episode of Final Fights, and basically what this is we're going to go through movies and just talk about the final fights at the end. So, not in the middle, not in the beginning, the finale final fight. Make sense?
I'm in.
So when I asked you to pick the first movie for the first episode, you didn't even wait to say what the movie was. So what was it? Why did you want to pick The Night Comes for Us?
I mean, when I think about movie fights, this is, I don't know how long the movie is, but this is that many minutes full of fights, basically. It is nonstop.
Yeah, we read an article saying it's 85% fights and 15% plot.
Yeah, that's about right, but it's just so, it's hard to look away from it because you might miss something cool in a fight.
There's so much violence in The Night Comes for Us.
I mean, would it be fair to say you can't really tell in this movie where the final fight even begins? Because it's all fights.
The whole thing is a fight, so the whole thing is a final fight.
All right, scrap it. We're just going to talk about the whole movie.
Yeah, the 3-hour-long podcast. Each fight, just an entire episode series about the fights in this movie. But we're going to be talking about the 9-minute finale fight.
Oh, wow.
Between, we can say it, our homeboys, right? We don't know them, but we love them.
Oh, we love us some Iko and Joe.
I mean, Joe Taslim and Iko Uwais absolutely destroy each other for 9 minutes in this movie. Now, I have a question for you. How many punches or strikes, flips, cuts, stabs do you think land?
So all of them combined?
All of them combined.
Stabs and kicks and everything?
Throws, everything.
300.
Oh, gosh. Well, that makes me feel bad. 128.
I mean, I was trying to be outrageous.
I mean, they throw at least 300. A lot are blocked.
9 minutes is a long time.
9 minutes, 128 strikes. Now, I think it slows down a little bit when he's trying to, saw his head in half. There aren't that many strikes during that scene.
Yeah, he manages to clip the hair a little.
I mean, but do you think this is what else could be the best action film in the last couple of years? Aside from this.
The Raid?
The Raid, 2010, 2011. The Raid 2.
The Raid Redemption.
The Raid Redemption. There's the Raid Redemption, the Raid 2, Mad Max Fury Road?
I don't think it has a lot more plot.
What about the John Wicks?
Oh, yeah, well, the John Wick movies.
Triple Threat?
Yeah, sure.
Aside from Scott Adkins'
I think there's more plot in that movie than there is in this movie.
There's a lot of plot in that movie.
But it's really funny. Tony Jaa and...
Yeah, Tiger Chen.
Yeah, they're just hilarious.
Our boy Scotty Atz.
Hanging out in that broken down cafe and...
Drinking beer?
Yep.
That'd be so much fun. But so this is the perfect one to do for our final fights, because the movie is basically... It is all fights. I don't even have to say basically. It's all fights. Mm-hmm. And what it leads to at the end is a 9-minute brawl between two members of the Triad who've kind of... One of them's gone rogue. He was a member of the Six Seas who just killed... I guess what they do is they kill living daylights out of people that annoy the Triad.
Describe them as Triad enforcers, the two of them.
So it's two Triad enforcers who have been killing the absolute ever-loving snot out of people.
Just the snot? That seems so PG.
I was going to... absolute ever-living shit out of people.
The squishy, gushy blood that's in this movie, that's what they're killing out of people. So much blood.
So John Levengood, the writer for Movies, Films, and Flicks, he wrote a review for this on the website, and he said it's one of the greatest squishy, bloody, gory things in years. IndieWire said it was the goriest horror action film in years.
It was funny. Who is it? The Ringer did a funny article about the winners and losers, and they said the fake blood industry is a winner for this movie because of so much blood. I forgot. We haven't watched it in, I don't know, what would you say? Maybe a year?
3 days.
Since last night. We haven't watched it in maybe a year, and I forgot how bloody it was. And I knew going into this just how brutal this movie is.
I was listening to director, his name's Timo Chiantu. And he did a TED Talk, which is pretty cool. You should look that up. Oh, that's
kind of awesome.
But he started with horror. So he did the VHS 2 one with Gareth Evans, where it's the cult. And it just goes the hell in a handbasket. Well, literally hell in a handbasket.
Horror novice over here. Those are the ones that's a bunch of different videos?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this guy comes from a very bloody... he did an action film called Headshot. And he's just known for incredibly bloody horror. So he brought a very visceral aesthetic.
The squish.
He brought the squish to this fight scene. And you know what I like about this scene is we watch a lot of these fight scenes. and I don't want to dog on any of them, but you don't feel them. Right? So
you feel this.
Yeah, and you know what I think is really smart in this? There's a scene where there's a steel pole, and Joe Taslim's character Ito goes to punch Arian, and he misses and punches the wall, and you just feel it.
Yeah, I like that. What was it, a horror movie a while back where the director came out and said that for the horror and the gore to be impactful, it has to be things that people can relate to. So most people haven't been shot, so they don't know what a gunshot feels like. But you know what that jar full of tacks feels like that Iko puts his hand into and then he has to pick them out? Who hasn't stabbed themselves with a tack or a staple or something like that? Everything hurts because you can relate to it. And that's what I love about the fight.
And there's that scene where Iko kicks the steel pole. And you feel the crunch. They
punch the floor a bunch of times, too. Oh, and he's smacking Joe's face into the floor several times. So that you feel, too, because who hasn't stubbed their foot or their hand or something on a wall, floor?
Gosh, these people... All right, so let's get these guys are not human. This is not a realistic fight scene. I mean, there's a lot of blood and there's a lot of cuts. But it's... Didn't an article say Joe Taslim be dead 8 times in this movie?
I can't remember which article it was, IndieWire or Film School Rejects, one of those, where they said he should have been dead at least 6 or 8 times.
And I think I love the absurdity of that. It's just...
He's a brick shit house, but listen.
And that's perfect that you said that, because we read an interview about this where Iko, they had him be more of a jaguar. He's more of a...
You did this really cool pause. We put it on today to watch it again, and you paused it right at the beginning, and Iko's in this awesome fighting stance where he just looks so cool. He's in a half squat, and his arms are up, and he just looks so slick in his suit. And after that shot, I think he punches Joe. I'm not sure.
Front kicks.
The first thing is a front kick. Joe goes flying. His feet are in the air. He's 3 feet over, I don't know, 6 feet away at this point. And Iko stands up, and he straightens his tie, and he sort of smiles.
It's so cool.
No, the tie bites him in the ass later, but still.
So he's like this live, like agile jaguar, and they call Joe Taslim a brute, a meathead, and a Hulk. And I kind of, you know me, nothing I do is pretty. So when I watch Ito, Joe Taslim in this movie, he's not slick. He's just, like you said, a brick shithouse who just hulks his way.
He's a bulldozer. He's just trucking through stuff as opposed to some of these skinnier guys. Although Bobby could give people a run for their money.
I did some notes. I did some research. And do you want to know who Joe based his fighting style off of?
Who?
Now we know they're using Pencak Silat.
Yes.
Which is...
Oh my gosh.
Elbows, knees, very heavy, just to hurt people.
Watch the YouTube videos. They're kind of intense. You were doing all kinds of research, and I'm just sitting there watching Pencak Silat videos online.
And when some guy said, if you lose the fight, you're dead, and if you win the fight, you're jailed.
Yeah, that was somebody who said their Pencak Silat master said that about the fighting style.
I love that. And so Joe, he's a big fan of The Simpsons. And there's an episode where Homer Simpson becomes a boxer. And he's not the best boxer, he's not the most athletic, but he has a complete inability to get hurt. So when he gets hit, it takes him a while to realize he's been hurt. So in this movie, he takes an inhuman amount of pain, but he has that inability. He's Homer Simpson. He has that inability to get hurt. And that's what he modeled his fighting style after, Homer Simpson.
That's funny.
And then Iko did all the fights in this film, the choreography.
Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, geez.
It's so good.
I'm happy to see him, because didn't he help come up with the style for the Raid movies? The style of fighting?
I think he helped adapt it so it was around in the movie style, right?
Yeah. For that movie, they adapted it based on there were some animals they saw hopping around the
You're right.
jungle. Gosh. And they adapted that, but that's neither here nor there. It's the
We'll
Raid.
Do that for our next episode.
But it's cool that he's gone from there. So it wasn't he's in stunts, and then he helped adapt a fighting style for a whole movie series, and now he choreographed a whole movie.
Dude's awesome.
He's fantastic. I love Iko.
And I also love the director, Timo, was talking about how he wanted to mimic movies like Heat. There's a movie called Cobra with Sylvester Stallone that's excessively violent. It's horribly violent. So they wanted to do that. And then John Woo. And in John Woo movies, there are violent characters who have occasional sparks of over-sentimentality. So remember in this movie when Joe Taslim says... Like he saves a kid. He stops killing people and he goes and saves a kid. And so he has that over sentimentality. Then he also wanted to copy They Live. which is a John Carpenter classic where Roddy Piper and Keith David beat the tar out of each other for 10 minutes. And also Eastern Promises. The tar. Tar, snot. Squish. Then there's Eastern Promises where there is a Viggo Mortensen. You've never seen this, but he has a naked drag down fight with a bunch of people in a sauna. And so he's naked the entire time. And everyone's getting stabbed. He's swirling around. Everyone's sweaty. And it's just the longest, most brutal fight scene that ends with just blood and viscera.
Ew.
And just a naked Viggo like slithering all over the floor while stabbing Russian mobsters.
I feel like you've covered it well enough. I don't have to watch it.
But that's what they base this on. And I can see all of that in this final fight. I have a question. Meg, my notes, they look like the scribblings of a madman, don't they?
I don't know. I can't read them upside down. So.
Do you know why I write these notes so crazy? If people ever steal it and want to use these movie notes to like write articles, they'll have no idea.
Yeah, no, it's like an unbreakable code. It's a cuneiform type language here.
All right, so you want to get into the fight?
Yes.
All right, so first, we're going to start with who. It is Ito.
Yes.
And Arian.
Yes.
2 longtime friends, correct?
That's the way they make it seem. I mean, they've known each other for quite some time. They're very familiar with one another. I believe that Arian has much more ambition to move up in their world because they're part of the 6 C's triad. And I think he has designs on being someone higher up in the ranks. Well, it sounds like he's moving there. He's very well dressed. He goes to clubs. He
beats the snot out of people there.
Yes. And the tar.
And the tar. And the goop.
And the squish.
The blood and the mud and the beer. So we have the who. Now the where. They're in a factory with chains, pipes, box cutters,
set design,
blades, razors, saws. I mean, basically everything in
jars
here.
Full of tacks. evil little tacks.
Everything in here is used to as a weapon. Yeah. Nothing in this movie is not used.
Mm-hmm.
So everything in
That's
there.
fair.
So we know how long. It's 9 minutes. We know who. We know what it is, where the fight. And so what's the first kick in this movie is a front kick.
Yeah, I noticed on the videos of the fighting style on it, there's a lot of kicking. Although I started watching a history of it, and they say more of the people from the mountains who practice this are much more into the kicks and a higher stance. But people from the coastal areas who are into it use a lower stance and much more hand movement for their strikes.
So that they are by the coastal area.
But he is more of the kick style.
Yeah.
So he would be more... He kicks a lot. But, I mean, I just thought that was fascinating.
Joe's not a kicker.
No, Joe was more of a throw them big meat hooks at people.
He does a lot of pick up Iko in the air and drop them.
Mm-hmm.
But he just keeps... Isn't it awesome how he just keeps coming forward? And, it takes him a good minute or 2 minutes to actually hit Iko. So the beginning of the fight is just Iko wailing on Joe Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Joe T.
Joey T.
Joey T. So Joey T is getting wailed on. It takes him 2 minutes to hit Iko. But when he does, the punch, he feels it. Like,
yeah, they move throughout the room. It's a pretty big room in here.
Yeah.
That they're fighting in.
I mean, they built that specifically for that.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I like the pipes. There's just nothing there's nothing that they could hit or punch or land on that's not going to hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
Both.
And I like the lower back work in this movie.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Iko gets flipped on a box. We're mixing up their names. There's Iko, Arian, Joe, and Ito. So just so you know, we're going back and forth. But there's a scene where Iko Uwais gets flipped on a box, and he's had his face punched, cut, stabbed, bloodied, and beaten. But when he falls on the box, he grabs his lower back like like that's I'm telling you, lower back injuries are the worst.
It is.
You could have a box cutter sticking out of your
face,
and someone punches your lower back, and you're like, "Oh, that's bad."
Well, because your face is, sort of disposable in the long run, but your back, you need all those muscles. It's your core.
And those scars look cool in your face.
Sure.
But you blow.
They've got a story, right?
You know me. I sneeze and I hurt my back.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have to hurt my back to hurt my back. Now I watch fights and I hurt my back.
Or, bend over to pick up a cat, hurt your back.
Pick up the Blu-ray to put in the deep Blu-ray, and I blow my back out.
Yeah. Lift the remote.
But all right. What's your favorite part of this fight?
I don't know.